Time now for a look at what's grabbing headlines here in France, and I'm joined by Clément Bonnereau in the studio. Good morning, Clément.
Adelano.
You're starting out with the Parisien, and here in France, smoking is on the rise in the country despite efforts from the government to tackle the issue.
That's right. Le Parisien asks this morning, pourquoi les Français fument toujours autant? Why do the French still smoke so much? The latest figures show that tobacco consumption has remained stable over the past few months. This despite a series of measures to tackle the problem, writes Le Parisien, including the introduction of plain cigarette packaging late last year, which was supposed to lead to 500,000 fewer smokers, according to experts.
So what's gone wrong?
Well, smoking is still seen as a little treat that anyone, rich or poor, can afford. Le Parisien, however, says that the lack of political will could be the main reason why smoking rates continue to be stubbornly high in France. Raise the price of cigarettes and the right will denounce an infringement on individual liberties, while the left will criticise the measure as yet another tax on the poor.
Now, Emmanuel Macron's government says it's open to raising the price of cigarettes up to 10 euros even a pack. Would this be enough to break the habit?
Well, health experts say, yes, 10 euros is a symbolic threshold that will encourage many smokers to quit cigarettes. But the measure will only work if France's neighbours, especially Spain and Italy, where tobacco tends to be considerably cheaper, follows suit. French tobacconists, however, disagree and say the price hike could destroy tens of thousands of jobs. They say the government's priority should be to tackle illegal trafficking and ban imports from neighbouring countries.
Now, moving on now, left-wing daily Libération takes a closer look at Lou Bureau, a French journalist who was arrested in Turkey last month.
That's right. Libération hails Lou Bureau as a passionate journalist. We learned that he travels to war-torn areas every summer to report on how borders shape identities and sometimes divide populations. He's got a particular focus, particular interest in Kurdish identity. Lou Bureau was arrested 3 weeks ago in Turkey after images of him with Syrian Kurdish fighters were found on his laptop. Ankara accuses him of links to a terrorist group, a claim rejected by Libération this morning, which calls for Bureau's immediate release.
Now, staying in the region next, Le Figaro reports this morning that thousands of Islamists could now return to Europe from Syria and Iraq, and this is raising fears of new attacks here on European soil, rather.
Absolutely. Le Figaro says it is an unprecedented threat, a challenge for Europe, and also a major threat to the continent's security. Now, there are several reasons why so many fighters are returning from Syria and Iraq. Many are disillusioned with the caliphate. Others are returning for fear of being killed or captured by Iraqi or Syrian forces. And some are hoping to carry out attacks on European soil. And this, of course, writes Le Figaro, is a huge risk for Europe. The newspaper adding that even those who return with peaceful intentions could pose a threat by contributing to spread the hateful ideology of radicalism and extremism.
Now, switching focus next to a top story, a story that's gripping the United States. Donald Trump facing fierce criticism for his comments on the violence this weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. How are French papers reacting to that?
Well, Donald Trump has been accused of drawing a moral equivalence between white supremacists and those who were protesting against them. French papers are, of course, highly critical of the American president. Here you can have a look at Libération's front page. You can see here this cartoon showing Trump as some kind of a referee with on one side a black woman and on the other side a neo-Nazi. And Trump says, "May the best man win." In its editorial, the paper accuses Trump of siding with the racist far right, which Libération says could be seen as an insult to America's founding fathers. The paper concludes Trump wanted to make America great again. So far, he's only managed to betray its core values.
Clearly a very gripping story in the United States. Now we're ending with yet another multi-million euro football transfer.
That's right. Turin's Juventus has agreed a deal to sign the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder Blaise Matuidi for 20 million euros. So not quite the same amount that PSG paid to sign Neymar a couple of weeks ago. The 30-year-old French international is one of PSG's longest-serving players, prompting Le Parisien to write, "A chapter is closing," and praise an exceptional player who's going to be sorely missed by his fellow players and PSG supporters.
You win some, you lose some, I guess, for PSG.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Clément Bonneau there with the press review.